What God is this? What could Calvin possibly have meant by present mercy? No matter how merciful God was to these poor souls in this life, could it be called mercy at all if its ultimate end was destruction? Was it not cynical to call temporary favor mercy upon those predestined for eternal damnation? Who could believe in such a God? Al found himself wrestling with thoughts of atheism, and only with great effort suppressed such rebellion. Luther, too, in The Bondage of the Will, seemed to present a God who was just as sadistic, deservedly taunting and mocking the lost, by calling upon them to come to Christ when they couldn't without the help he refused to give them. It is one thing to mock those who, having been given a genuine choice, have willfully rejected salvation and have persisted in their attempt to dethrone God. It is something else for Calvin's and Luther's God, having created man without the possibility of repenting and believing the gospel, than to mock him in the doom to which he has been predestined. Al could not equate such deceit with the loving, gracious, merciful God of the Bible. But this was the God of Augustine, the premier saint of Roman Catholicism, to whom not only Calvin and Luther looked as their mentor, but whom so many leading evangelicals praised highly. He was further shaken by this statement in a book he was reading. The Reformation was essentially a revival of Augustinianism, and through it, Christianity again came into its own. To learn that Augustine was the founder of Calvinism and evangelical Christianity shook him, as a former Catholic, to the core. What was the truth after all? Searching for assurance, Al found where Calvin explained that his teaching that some are predestined to salvation and others to destruction was the only sure ground of confidence that one was truly saved, a confidence that only the elect possess. Al thought and prayed about that, but could not see how the belief that God had predestined some to heaven and others to hell could give anyone confidence that he was chosen for heaven. Was he blind, totally reprobate, and unable to see the truth? His inability to make sense of Calvin seemed to be the final confirmation that he was eternally lost without any hope. The only encouragement he received during those dark days came from the Westminster Confession. True believers may have the assurance of their salvation divers ways, shaken, diminished, and intermitted by God's withdrawing the light of his countenance, and suffering even such as fear him to walk in darkness and to have no light. That seemed to bring a glimmer of renewed hope, but he couldn't find the biblical basis for true believers lacking the very assurance that the Bible promises to simple faith. Then a friend gave him a book that he said had resolved all of his questions. It was The Reformed Doctrine of Predestination by Loraine Boettner. The back cover declared it to be one of the most thorough and convincing statements on predestination to have appeared in any language, the authoritative work in this field. Al began to read it with high hopes. Instead, the book shook him further. The recommendation by Christianity Today that the chapter on Calvinism in history will prove illuminating to many caused him to read that part first. Al was immediately troubled by Boettner's admission that early Christian leaders would have rejected Calvinism's view of predestination, and that this cardinal truth of Christianity was first clearly seen by Augustine. He knew very well that Augustine was responsible for most of Catholicism's doctrines and practices. A recent newspaper article told that the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church had just held some kind of commemorative observance in which this saint had been hailed as the doctor of the Church. How could Calvinism be a cardinal truth of Christianity if, for centuries, Christian leaders believed the opposite, until Augustine, the greatest Roman Catholic, discovered it?